What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. It's George. Alright guys, so what we're going to be talking about in this video today, it may or may not be an issue to some, or at least not to the people who are very financially stable, or to the ones who don't struggle with money expenses. But if you're watching this video and anything money-wise isn't a problem for you, I still hope you'll be able to take some part of this video with you. So I'm only going to be focusing this topic in Los Angeles, but let me know down in the comment section if you live somewhere else and this situation is the same as where you live. Alright, if you live in Los Angeles, I don't know if you realize this yet or not, but literally, and by literally, I'm not being sarcastic, but every place you'll head around Los Angeles, there are either lease or rent signs all over LA. Houses, apartments, buildings, etc. Now, just to clarify the quick difference between lease and rent, when it comes to lease, it generally lasts for 12 months, while a rental agreement lasts for 30 days or a month, which is why the majority of places you'll see throughout this video are mainly lease. Which makes sense in several ways, because if you're renting somewhere and plan to move elsewhere, here in LA by law, you have up to 3 months without paying a single dime after declaring or signing that you will for sure move somewhere else. So you have up to 3 months to decide where you're going. But there are tons of landlords who have dropped their prices in rent by a lot because of obvious reasons, with the whole global situation that happened last year that we are still living till this day in the US. Thousands and millions of people lost their jobs or simply aren't making enough profit as they once were. So because of that impact, plenty of people can't afford to be paying high rent monthly. Now imagine places that are going for lease. It's a much bigger price number. Because once you sign that lease agreement, I mean, there's simply no going back or saying you'll be able to pay 3 months and then the rest is history, you know? And before we move on, I want to make two things perfectly and crystal clear. One being, all these places you're seeing for lease or for rent are only some of the very few places I was able to record. Because if I were to record every single location where I saw this, it would have been impossible, no question, or this video would have been bloody long. Secondly, and this is one, if not the most important part, is that this is happening everywhere. It doesn't matter what part of LA you're traveling to, you're going to see it, and you're going to see it as well as in this video. And if it's happening everywhere, it most definitely means it's happening to all sorts of people. Low class, middle class, and believe it or not, high class as well. Again, you're going to see this even in places where very wealthy people live in, like Santa Monica, Glendale, you name it. For instance here, this used to be a kids' dental place where many children will go to. They will bring in good money to this place, and even so, it wasn't enough. And a large percentage of all these leasings are brand new, modern looking apartments and business offices. So you can imagine the prices those are going for. We're simply living in times where there's just not enough demand. If countless people aren't making enough profit or have completely lost their jobs, who's going to be willing to pay thousands and thousands of dollars monthly or yearly to simply money they aren't getting? Maybe they have the money to be in those locations, but that's all they would be working for and nothing else. Cause hell, even so, rents in LA in countless areas have dropped 40%. And out of everyone who pays rent in LA, 25% are not, which has many to start moving out of both the city, state, or even country depending on the situation. Including the rich, they're just simply selling their properties here and taking everything with them to a different state, like Florida. All the locations that you guys have seen thus far are areas where middle class people are at. But take a look here, this is in Fairfax, LA, where many high class people live, and people between both middle and high class live as well, you know, both very wealthy. And take a look at all these houses and apartments that are going for rent. It can be a bit hard to tell in some since the signs are far, but you're more than welcome to pause the video at any point to take a closer look. Alright guys, so here's where everything goes down in Fairfax. This is where all the clothing stores are at. Take a look at Flight Club. Famous people used to go there all the time. And this part of Fairfax was also one of the few locations where the riots took place last year. All these stores were struggling when the whole global situation kicked in, and then after when the riots happened, many of these stores just decided to close down for good. But it goes to show you how the government here, quote unquote, really cares. Alright, so the next location I'm about to show might be a shock to a lot of you. I've actually done about 2 or 3 videos here in the past. This here is Beverly Hills. Yep, that's right. Beverly Hills, where only luxurious stores and restaurants are at. Only high class or people who don't care about spending $1,000 on a single shirt shop at. And even here, you can see multiple spots are going for lease. So again, this is not happening in only one part of LA, nor to a specific group. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, these are only some of the very few places I was able to record at. If you're someone that plans on buying a property in LA and plans to make a profit out of it every month or every year, all I would say is just to wait a couple months, just to see how things will play out later on. But if we're being completely honest, everything comes back full circle, right? With the government of the state shutting down everything, not having a plan B for those who were left with nothing. Because the unemployment benefits are nothing to what people have as necessary expenses. And if we go even beyond that, the thousands and millions of hardworking individuals are the ones who keep the state running. Let's take a business, for example. If you own a business and all your employees are working hard, doing what they're supposed to, then your business will be good and only get better throughout time. But when you have all these restrictions that the government of this state doesn't comply himself, then now we have a problem. And not only him, but everyone who follows his footsteps or was in office before him. Because hell, since 2015, California has been losing more than 100,000 people each year, which is mind-blowing if you ask me. But moving on, guys, in this location, this is in downtown LA, the quote-unquote luxurious side of LA. Here at night is a ghost town now. People here simply don't have anything to do anymore as much as they used to. Inside of this building was a retail store, specifically a clothing store that used to be inside, now going for lease. Then a block down there's building apartments where maybe 4 or 5 people live in, because let's face it, the higher the view is here in these buildings, the more expensive it is. You can't blame people for not being around this area anymore, because just going down 3 or 4 blocks down, it's the Staples Center, home of the LA Lakers. So you can just imagine the amount of money it costs just to stay around here. Believe it or not, just 2 years ago, back in 2019, at least 100,000 Californians moved to Nevada. Because many saw and they asked themselves, why pay $1,200 monthly for an outdated 1-bedroom in LA, for when the same price you can live in a brand new built 3-bedroom townhouse just a couple miles away from Las Vegas. I mean, I guess that's why they call Nevada the state of second chances. And this is one of the very few issues we've talked about on this channel. As long as people can avoid a state that has traffic jams, wildfires, high gas taxes, rent increases, rampant homelessness, etc., people honestly don't think twice about moving to a different state. But again, this man, I don't even want to pronounce his name, but the government of California is simply a waste of skin. Which is why I'm happy that 1.2 million plus people have agreed to remove this man out of office. Actually, I believe now we're at 1.5 million signatures to get this guy out. And let's admit, that's actually a big plus for this state. Because it's really sad when people like him would do nothing to favor the poor or middle class. All they do is gain more money and power, as we've seen and are continue to see in this lockdown. Think about all these places you're seeing, right? Restaurants, for example, a lot of them only had the option to deliver or pick up, while they still had to pay a high number in lease. And taking out a loan, especially during a time like this, does not benefit them whatsoever. If you didn't know, or if you do some deep research, 40% of black-owned businesses will never open again. But I think it's higher than that now when it comes to tax time, because 40% was actually a couple months ago. And honestly, when you look at these numbers, you start to see that many are being owned by the state. And when you're state-owned, you're pretty much their property. You obey them or you don't eat. But to start closing this video off, I really do hope as the days go by that more and more people start to realize things, the actual truth of things. And I know some might say, who is this kid to be speaking about this? But really, that's only one's opinion. And even though I've talked about situations like this in my past videos, does not mean I see LA or California as hopeless or that it's simply gonna burn down. California can definitely get back up, and better than ever. It's gonna take some time for sure. It's not gonna be anytime soon though. But if we get together as one and start taking action, spreading the word out, informing others to what's going on, etc., then the faster we can rebuild California for the better, the way it should be. So with that being said, I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you gained something from it. And if it was, dropping a like on this video will help YouTube recommend it to someone who may very well have the need to be informed. And consider subscribing to the channel and commenting down your thoughts. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch the video, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace.